lifestyle skit from an Italian TV show has gone viral for their comedic interpretation of Joe Biden taking to the stage outside the White House.
Buonasera, Presidente Biden. Oh, Presidente Biden. President, Mr. President. It's okay?
Are you okay, President?
It's okay. Okay, tutto a posto. Welcome, benvenuto. No, di nuovo, mamma mia. President, Mr. President, ecco.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Ok, it's okay.
Yeah, very good.
Si sente bene,
Yeah.
sì? Sì.
Thank you.
Thank you, mamma mia.
Thank you very
Ecco.
much. Feel good.
You are welcome.
Well, given the fact that he is, let's just say, crapped himself a few times, given the fact that he looks pretty daggone creepy, I mean, to the point to where even the Pope himself looks a little bit creeped out by him, given the fact that the Italian leader, Giorgia Meloni, has had to actually grab Biden's hand, given the fact that not only has that happened, given the fact that there's also this video that was released last week that you guys are about to see here in the edited footage of Obama basically walking Joe off the stage at a fundraising event, it does seem like it's pretty daggone obvious that this guy's mental acuity, this guy's cognitive acuity, or cognitive abilities are in fact in decline. That being said, with everything that you guys just saw, the mainstream media would love to convince you that it's all deep fakes and cheap fakes.
Tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here, and instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos, and it is again done in bad faith.
Karine Jean-Pierre, she was not the only one who decided to get involved in the whole cheap fake, deep fake crap. They even brought back the potato head, Brian Stelter.
We're going to be by October. The White House press secretary used the phrase cheap fakes, the idea of cheap fakes. Let me explain what that is to people. We've been worried for years about AI deep fakes, that computer-generated images are going to trick people into believing something that's totally false. Cheap fakes are a little bit simpler. They're cheap. They're just distorted, out-of-context videos, chopped up in certain ways, constructed in certain ways. That's what we're seeing. That's what the Biden administration, the Biden campaign is so worried about right now. But make no mistake, they are worried about this. This is a real problem. This is not some...
I have never seen a more worthless eunuch in my life. So basically pointing out that Joe Biden has got obvious cognitive impairments means that this is all just a good old-fashioned cheap fake or deep fake. That's basically the narrative that they're running with. I'm pretty sure that AI technology will be brought up again at a later date, whether it be the Hollywood tape on the set of The Apprentice or possibly something that could be generated about the Republican nominee that could come out very, very late. And then these people will say, we warned you of AI dangers. We warned you of what artificial intelligence could do. We warned you about that, but, this right here, I'm pretty sure that is coming at a later date. So what exactly is going on here? So there was this Daily Mail article, and of course it was entertained by Jesse Waters at Fox News about the possibility of Biden being replaced. And of course this article, which I did read and we'll link in the description box for you guys, didn't seem to me like it was completely and totally out of bounds, except there was a problem. It's completely and totally out of bounds, and the biggest reason why it's completely and totally out of bounds is because the current Democratic Party nominee has pretty much already accepted the nomination, and all the votes in the process, in the primary process, have gone for him. And of course, there's also the Rasmussen Reports video that I'll link in the description box that basically explains that the Democratic Party doesn't really have anybody that they can actually replace Joe with that's actually deemed to be acceptable. If anything, if the situation actually arises, the 50% of the delegates and super delegates would still choose Joe, probably because they were able to get him over the finish line before, where other candidates they may try to replace Joe Biden with, they can't get him over the finish line. Also, not to mention the fact with Joe Biden pretty much already accepting the nomination. And of course, there's also this debacle in Ohio where he's not on the ballot. They wanted to kind of do a bit of a virtual one so that way he could say he accepted the nomination. It is more likely that the ballots would already be printed out with Joe Biden's name already on them. Basically, what I'm saying is that at this moment in time, replacing Joe Biden is probably not likely, but you guys can please give me your comments in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. So, The other day, this right here would come up in conversation on Piers Morgan, and once again, Piers Morgan had some very interesting personalities on. Actually, he didn't really have any interesting personalities on. He just simply had Tommy Lahren, who's been screaming Biden would be replaced, and even screaming that Biden would be replaced after the convention. I don't know how the hell you do that, because the nomination basically means he already accepted the nomination, but we'll entertain her here in a second. Piers Morgan, also, and to go on top of this, Cenk Uygur, who, quite frankly, actually had a take I quite frankly agree with in this. I was actually surprised to see that he actually got one correct. And, of course, Brian Tyler Cohen, who has a show called No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where he then proceeds to lie throughout the entire hour that he's on the internet. So what's in the article? Well, the article basically asserts that Obama, Bill Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and Nancy Pelosi, they want to have a meeting with Biden where they can actually, they can actually have a conversation with him about his mental acuity and why it is that he needs to step down. Some people are probably going to think that they would want to replace him with Michelle Obama, but I've already explained in previous videos how it is that if they did use Michelle Obama, it would more than likely be 2028, where they would probably want to run against whatever policies they can run against when Trump was in office, but still at the same time, though, we know how deep that swamp is, and these people are capable of anything. Don't worry, we'll talk more about that in the video that I've got planned this weekend talking about the draft, because apparently they did pass the bill in Congress for the draft, but we'll get to that there. Then, the point is this right here. The Democrats are actually stuck. They're actually swamped. And, of course, you've still got people right now at this moment in time talking about the possibility of replacing Joe. And, of course, it's pretty hard to do so given the fact that Joe has pretty much already accepted the nomination and so many votes have actually already gone to Joe. But still, we are here once again entertaining this. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to this set of reactions because, honestly, to tell you the truth, I was actually impressed by both Pierce and Cenk. But let's roll this.
Relentlessly in the United States because it's used as a distraction to not talk about the accomplishments.
All right, let me go to Cenk. You've been waiting patiently.
Okay, Piers, I would...
Yeah, Tommy, quickly, yeah.
Piers, I would just want to interject real quickly because I have to say this. Brian, there is nothing I would love more than for the Democrats to stick with Joe Biden as their nominee.
Now, look, I'll let that right there roll just a little bit longer. And, of course, the topic that people are talking about is the debate on June the 27th. And it's very odd that this debate is happening on June the 27th. Many people have already said that the reason why they're doing this is so that way, in case Joe Biden has a, Mitch McConnell-style moment where he freezes up, they can then turn right back around and say, this right here is grounds to replace him. In reality, the rules of the debate where you're muting one of those mics, this actually helps Trump out a lot more than it does Biden. So the Democrats may have actually pigeonholed themselves or put themselves in a very bad spot where if Biden does have a bad performance, they definitely have to contemplate it. But replacing him is an extremely difficult process that they may not be able to do. So they could just be good old-fashioned stuck with him. We've talked about this before. I've talked about Tommy Lahren and how far off she is in her takes. But still, the point is this right here. Replacing Joe Biden at this moment in time is a very hard thing to do. And you guys probably caught right there at the very end where she said, please leave Biden out there. Please leave him out there. I want my guy to face him. I'm here to tell you right now that Trump's best shot at winning this year, which I believe he's going to win anyways, would actually be if they replace Joe Biden. None of the other candidates that they have that they could replace Biden with actually have any appeal. I'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the video. But, of course, the genuine consensus is that Gavin Newsom would be the one that they would replace him with. And I've already explained how it is that Gavin Newsom is completely, totally unelectable. And to go on top of this, Tommy Lahren has been screaming this since about 2021, and she hasn't exactly gotten any of these predictions right. So why in the hell would we trust her track record?
I have no dog in this fight. I hope you guys run Joe because I think he's the easiest candidate to beat. So when you say, oh, it's us that are trying to make it seem like he's old. No, if you leave the guy in, it's much easier for my guy to beat him, okay?
But still, the debate that's set to be had on June the 27th is obviously a debate that has got the Democratic Party and Democrats worried because they think if Biden does freeze up, it means that he cannot defeat the former president. Now, some of the rules in this debate include muting Trump's mic, which is kind of a dead giveaway that if he tries to speak up or if he tries to interrupt, they would mute his mic and they would let Biden continue to go on. And I personally think the best thing you can do while facing Joe Biden is just simply ramble on and let him talk because, number one, he's terrible when it comes to policy. Nobody agrees with his policies. Number two, we could all see his cognitive decline. And there's even been one thing that has came out recently that said that Biden's team has requested he be able to sit down during the debate. That is not a good look. And of course, the plan for Biden's reelection is just simply to run on 1/6 the whole time, something that, quite frankly, nobody cares about. So basically, once again, the campaign is simply orange man bad. But let's continue.
This has to be a concern, doesn't it, for America?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually very depressing on a number of fronts, including that my side, the Democrats, have now become like MAGA. Sorry, Brian, I love you. I think you're a great guy, super smart. You lay out your case as well as anybody can lay it out. But we do all have eyes and ears. And the Democrats are starting to look like MAGA, denying that, that MAGA says, oh, Trump won the election in 2020. You have to be a lunatic to believe that. But if you think that Joe Biden is a secret dynamo behind the scenes of the Democrats
starting to look like MAGA. I mean, come on, Cenk. Look. I said that there was a take in here that Cenk had that I actually agree with him on. But there's also a bunch of takes during this conversation that I, quite frankly, don't agree with him on. I'll be very, very brief and concise in stating my disagreement, but trust me, when we get to the actual meat of this, you guys will see exactly what I mean when I say even a broken clock is right twice a day, but let's continue.
Borderline lunatic to believe that. No, the guy is in terrible, terrible shape. And if he has dementia, they get more stubborn. And so what if he digs in and he's like, I don't care. And his mind is actually affected by the ailments that we're seeing with our own eyes. So the Democrats have become so authoritarian that they're like, oh my God, what if Bernie Sanders wins? What if a progressive wins? Let's all bow our head to the Mad King. And that's what he is at this point. So we have two Mad Kings running.
Cenk using language like two Mad Kings, that type of stuff there. Of course, that type of stuff right there is normal coming from Cenk. Obviously, I don't fully agree with him. But of course, when he says the Democrats are becoming more and more authoritarian, then obviously I do agree with that. But Cenk's version of saying authoritarian is a little bit different than mine. So we're not going to get too much into that. But there is one thing that Cenk did say at the very beginning that I actually did find to be very interesting, because it was actually something that was passed around on Fox News. It was Brian Kilmeade, to be exact. What he was saying, Brian Kilmeade was saying, was that if Joe Biden, if he is approached by Clinton and Obama and Schumer and Pelosi, he just may entrench, because Joe Biden feels like the entire media is against him, and they've been against him from the start. They were against him in the early days of the Democratic National Convention or the Democratic primaries, but of course they coalesced around him, and they quite frankly do their bidding for him. Basically, the point is that if Joe Biden chooses to say, no, I'm here, you're not going to remove me, that's the thing that right now the other presidents or the former presidents are worried about, whereas Biden's team is counting on him doing so expect him to relent. But let's continue.
Well, Piers, there's a reason why the debate is historically early. The debates are never before the convention. I think the Democrats put the debate before the convention so they'll have one last moment to try to talk Joe Biden out of this race. Because I disagree with you slightly on Trump. I think he's always had the lowest IQ of any human being that's ever been in public. But I think he's...
Before he was about to start going all the anti-Trump rants, of course, calling him low IQ and all that, which I don't see how the hell you're able to pull that off. I mean, it's something that, quite frankly, I don't understand, because these people act like Hillary Clinton was a genius and they say Trump was low IQ, but then Trump turned right back around and beat her. He's a buffoon, but he beat her. So how the hell did the low IQ buffoon beat Hillary? Also, something else, too, they'll say that he's a mad genius one second, then they'll say he's low IQ. I don't know how the hell how that actually matches. I mean, it's got to be one or the other, but I mean, what the hell ever. Obviously, the debate is an opportunity for the Democrats, the Democratic National Convention, to know whether they want to actually go forward with Joe or not, or whether they want to replace him. I've told you guys on several occasions in several videos that I don't see it happening, but either way, though, we got a meltdown to look at. Now, this next segment's roughly 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm actually going to let it run. I may pause it mid-tier just to kind of throw in the zinger or a one-liner on Cenk, because quite frankly, I want to, but Piers makes some extremely good points here.
Cenk, on that
people
point,
that are affected by mental ailments running for office.
But Cenk, here's the difference.
It's a deeply embarrassing moment for America.
Here's the difference. I've watched a lot of Trump recently. He rang me a couple of months ago. We had a long chat. And he sounded completely normal. Exactly the same as he sounded when I did Celebrity Apprentice back in 2008. Honestly, he could have been exactly the same guy. Trump's never had a drink, never had a cigarette, never had a drug. For all that people think of him, he's still basically the same guy he's always been. Now, he free rolls.
I don't think so.
Well, hang on. Well, he free rolls in the way he speaks. And you can go back and watch him. I used to watch him over the boardroom on Apprentice night after night. And he'd say lots of stuff, and some of it wouldn't stack up to a.
But once again, the mental acuity is exactly what we need to be discussing. Is somebody actually with it? Rudy Giuliani's in his 80s, and Giuliani does not seem to me like somebody who's completely out of it. He's got his own YouTube channel, his own podcast, and he actually does a pretty good job up there. Trump is 77. He doesn't exactly sound like an old fart, even though we obviously know that he's an old man. I mean, look, I'm a Trump voter, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that he's not old. Of course he's old. But Biden, on the other hand, is pretty daggone obvious. The guy poops his pants everywhere he goes. The guy is not there. He's not with it. And, of course, we've got the mainstream media, as I showed you guys before, saying it's all deep fakes and cheap fakes and right-wing conspiracy theories. But then again, at the same time, though, it is their job to throw propaganda out there because that's who these people are. Common law liars, what the hell they really are.
To a fact check, and some of it didn't sound quite right. But I would say there's been no cognitive decline in Trump. That he's always been basically the same kind of guy. He's a little bit older, but when you think he's only 3 years younger than Biden, my God, I mean, the difference between the two of them. And as I thought Bill Ackman, the very good point he made, Warren Buffett's in his 90s, and he doesn't sound anything like the way Joe Biden does. It's not about his age. It's about his mental acuity. And I just think, I tell you when the chickens come home to roost for everybody trying to defend this or trying to make some equivalence with Trump. June the 27th, these two guys are going to get on a stage in a live television debate that will break all records, I think, for ratings, probably around the world. And you know what's going to happen? Over 90 minutes, however long it is, Donald Trump is going to take Joe Biden to...
And people can obviously tell that Trump is still with it. Something else, too, you have to factor in when it comes to Trump is that even with the court cases, the New York City court case, he was still out in front of the camera every day, and people could obviously see that he was still there, where Joe Biden, on the other hand, quite literally freezes up.
Secretary, I'm not sure you're going to do so.
Doesn't even remember Mayorkas' name, but then again, the guy sucks at his job, so I guess it doesn't really matter, but let's continue.
Utterly, utterly humiliating for the president, because he has been protected so carefully in his term of office from this kind of thing. And when he gets exposed, honestly, Cenk, I think it's going to be utterly humiliating, and Trump will destroy it.
Well, Piers, there's a reason why the debate is historic.
And Pierce is not lying. Joe Biden has been coddled by the media. Like I said before, they did not want him to be the nominee, but then they turned right back around and obviously coddled him when he was the nominee. He had the Hunter Biden laptop, all that type of stuff there. And, of course, you guys know the rest of the story. I don't think I have to explain anymore. But the point is this right here. During that debate, it's going to be very hard for Biden to do. But, however, the media has already set the bar so daggone low, which I think that right there could be what the hell is really and truly going on here, is that the rift is actually between the media and the former president, that right there being Obama and Bill Clinton. But, of course, like I said before, there is a meltdown in here that, quite frankly, we do need to get to, and here it is.
Point. So he went from like a 20 to a 15. He's way, way below Biden, but I get it. He looks energetic. Biden looks like, I mean, come on, guys. The emperor has no clothes. They hate me for telling people that the emperor has no clothes, but my job is in news. We all can see how incredibly old he is. So my point is, for God's sake, pull him. If you don't pull him, we're going to lose to Trump. Why do you want to lose to Trump? Why do you want to give up 10 points? Hate me all you want. And every Democrat says it's my fault. It's people, oh, no, you shouldn't tell people reality. They already see it. You've got to pull him if you want to beat Trump. If you don't want to pull Joe Biden, you're saying, I don't mind losing to Trump. I don't mind losing democracy. All the things that I said about Trump, I don't actually mean it. I don't think it's a big deal if he wins. That's why I'm running this guy who cannot move or speak. It's absolute madness.
Yeah. Well, let me...
Look, even when Cenk Uygur, of all crazy people, can see that the current president of the United States is mentally not there, and also to go on top of this, the acuity, everything is very, very low, then you guys have obviously got a problem. But then again, though, at the same time, though, Cenk kind of gets laughed at by his own, so, I mean, what the hell do you expect? Which brings me to my final point to end this video, and this right here is what it is. Regardless of how many things that you see out there, obviously they're going with the cheap fake, deep fake narrative, because guess what? It's a part of the overall agenda of the media, but that right there is a different conversation altogether. One thing that I did want to make, and this is the final point, is the actual replacement of Biden himself. So therefore, if you go to the Democratic National Convention, the delegates will obviously vote. Biden's already got a lot of those delegates because even in election years, when you're the incumbent, obviously you have a primary. This is where you choose your congressional candidates, not stuff even presidential. Biden's already got more than 50%. If you go watch that Rasmussen Reports video on this topic, you will notice that in the poll that they did do, and Rasmussen Reports is not the only one who's done this, several others have done this as well, the leading candidate they can get is either Michelle Obama or Kamala Harris. Well, the thing is this right here. Neither one of them cracked more than 15%. However, there is one thing that I do want to mention. There was one person who went to the Tony Awards the other day and we got glowing reviews on how she looked, and that was there being Hillary Clinton. The Obamas and the Clintons are not friends of one another, and there could be a compromise and on whose wife to send out there in case they do choose to actually replace. I don't think that Barack Obama is going to want to sacrifice his wife because obviously his wife would be the plan for 2028. But still at the same exact time, though, the Democratic Party doesn't really have much of a bench. If they put Gavin Newsom out there, they alienate black voters because you have gone the route of not being woke anymore, and also at the same time, you're admitting your administration was a failure. The Democrats are a failure too. And also to go on top of this, the American people have been conditioned to hate California and anything coming from California because California, quite frankly, at this moment in time, is a cancer on the nation. I hate to upset anybody who's from California on this channel, who's subscribed to me. I'm not insulting you personally. I know why you're leaving. Gavin Newsom does not have a chance in hell at winning the presidential election, and Kamala Harris is completely and totally unlikable. However, what they could do is they could send out a sacrificial lamb, believing the sacrificial lamb could win, and that right there being Hillary Clinton. I doubt it, but then again, at the same time, though, there are stranger things. But you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section, and I'll see you guys later.